Hey, what's up? Benjamin Keating, bringing my second video, and hopefully this one's going to be helpful. I assume the last one was helpful as well. This is going to be talking about CAD files. Now, I know if you've worked with CAD files, they are just an absolute nightmare. They come in very, very messy, and you're just better off to just sort of remodel it depending on how big the CAD file is. Now, for this particular instance, I'm going to remodel this because it's fairly simple object. So, and you can see this is how the CAD files sort of natively come in. Um, I've put this texture on myself. It's nothing special. It's very basic textures, but you can see the problems that we've got. Very sharp edges. You could texture this fantastic and light it beautifully, but sort of you look at the button here. There's not enough texture and lighting that's going to make that look good, unfortunately. So you're going to have to remodel stuff like that. So we're going to transform something. Well, we're going to transform this into something like this. You can see everything's nice and smooth. These buttons, they actually sort of realistic real world buttons in a sense of they've got a bit of a gap here all around the edge, as buttons do. You see this front plate here actually curves up, where here it's just a very sharp up and then down. I've actually got an image of this particular item here. We just zoom in here and have a look. You can see everything is curved. That looks quite nice. That looks not very nice. So I'm going to show you what to do, or this won't work for every single CAD file you get, but it works for this one, and you can use the techniques. I'm going to use this sort of one technique, which is this edge to spline, and sort of remodel from there. But you can't do that with every CAD file. But you'll certainly use it at least once within every CAD file. I know I certainly do. It's real easy to, it's real nice to sort of take shapes like this, take its spline and sort of convert it and just sort of redo everything from there. So I'm going to show you that process. I've got my multi-cell hidden here, which is the one I model. I'm just going to sort of name this as back. Unfortunately, I can't give you this model. It's not mine to give away. But you can go find a free CAD model online and sort of apply the same technique. So you can see with our CAD file here, you can see how it's come in. It's very, very messy. There's lines everywhere. It's just not very nice. This thing wasn't designed to look good. I think it was more as an illustration of what the box is going to look like. And then if we have a quick look at my version, you see we've got very clean lines, apart from these lines here. We can actually just come in here and change this. Come over to the third one here. Do the caps, put them to 0.1. That fixes that problem. We've probably got too many points there, but as I'm going through, I'll show you how to optimize this and take you through every step. If you're familiar with Cinema 4D, I'm going to show you a lot of methods where we could use Cinema 4D's sort of bevel tool and stuff like that won't actually work with CAD files. It's a bit of a pain if you're modeling something from scratch. Then yeah, that bevel tool is great, but in this particular instance we can't really use the CAD file. It just doesn't bevel properly, but I'll show you. So let's go ahead and start. Let's get this hidden. Let's bring our CAD file back and let's deselect these polys, and we're going to start off with this front plate. So we need to select this outer, let's come into line mode, we need to select this outer spline in a sense. Now we can push the keyboard shortcut UL and that will allow us to select the edge. Well, it's not letting us select it. There's so many different lines here connecting to each other. Cinema 4D can't figure out that this line here is our sort of boundary. We can select boundary loop. No, we're not getting nothing at all. So stop at boundary edge. No, it's not going to work. We're gonna have to manually select it. Sometimes it does work. We've got this part here that selects fine. We've got another one here. Yeah, that selects fine. Now see, we've got one here. Yep, that'll select. But it's sort of struggling here. You can see it's, if I just select that, you can see it's gone round and then it's selected that top part. So it is a problem, and this is where the tedious, time-consuming part comes in. Let's get back into line mode. Just go ahead and select these lines, and I'm holding shift while I'm selecting these. You see where I've not selected that poly there, but that doesn't matter. We're not going to be using this this model. We're going to redo it ourselves. So this can be tedious. Now some CAD files you get, you'll have loads of lines. You'll have thousands and thousands, and they can all be quite sort of bunched together, and it can really be tricky selecting them. But the end result that you get out of it is definitely worth it. So there we go. We've selected that. Again, if you're familiar with Cinema 4D, you'd probably think, let's go ahead and bevel this. Let's add that curve. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 0.2. This is quite a small model in scale. So I'm just going to bevel it and give it a subdivision of, say, 4. And you can see that's not working for us. Nope, that is not working at all. And that's just because it's a CAD file. There's lots of triangles. It just can't interpolate it correctly. So let's undo that. Let's click this edge to spline and get this out. And let's hide our model. And there's our spline. Now I've got these sort of shortcut buttons here docked here. I'm going to be using this edge to spline a lot, and I'm going to be using this center axis too as well. And you can put these there by right clicking anywhere in the gray area, clicking customize palettes, and just do a search there for the shortcut that you want. Let's type edge. I've got it there, edge to spline, and we can just drag that there, and that's our shortcut. Otherwise, you'd have to go to mesh, commands, and edge to spline, and to do that every single time, if you've got to do that sort of 20 times, that's going to get very annoying. And another thing, this CAD file is orientated the wrong way, so when we want to look at the front, we have to come into our right view, and when we want to look at the right, we have to come into our front view. It's just a little bit backwards, but it's not too much of a problem. Right, so let's come into point mode. Let's come onto this spline, and we're just going to change its type to Bezier, and that's how you pronounce it, and intermediate points to natural. And all that's going to do is just going to smooth this out, and it's also going to give us a nice curve down the bottom here. Sort of without that, you can see it just goes to a solid point, and then the natural points, you can see it curves it out, which on our model here, that's exactly how it is. So that will be our front outer, and that's all I'm going to do for that one. Now we're going to bring our model back. I think we can bring the screen now. Let's do the screen. So let's select this, and I'm going to do the same thing, which is just select these outside edges here. So I'm not going to hold shift for the first select, because if I do that, it's going to keep this outer one selected, which we selected previously, which we don't want. So I'm just going to let go of shift, select that first line there. I'll deselect the outer ring and only select this. Now I'm going to continue holding shift, and I'm just going to go around and select the other points here. So there we go. Pretty simple. Let's just make sure we've got nothing else selected there. I don't think we have. Fantastic. And let's click edge to spline. Let's drag that out. Let's rename this one to screen. And let's hide our model. And there we go. Now again, I want this to be smooth, and I want these corners to have a bit of a round into them. So if we just come into the type here, we'll change this to Bezier again, and natural intermediate points. And you see that's not really what we want. So if we just go ahead and select these points here, right click and select hard interpolation. And you see we've got this smooth edge now, which is what we wanted. Now we need to chamfer these corners. So we'll just right click chamfer, and I'm going to go for a 0.4 chamfer. And let's see what that's done for us. That looks good. And that's that for that. And then from there, we could bring our model back. Let's see. If we just go ahead and extrude these, so if we just put the front in there, we're actually extruding the wrong way. We don't want to be extruding in the Z direction. We want to be going in the X direction. So let's just extrude it by, say, 5. In fact, we want to go -5 because we took the spline from the very front, so we want it to go back. So I think that'll be okay. And then if we put the screen in there, whoops, you know, we're going to get one or the other. We don't want that. We want that screen to be kind of cut that out. Well, we can easily do that. Let's just drag these out. Let's just bring in a connect object here. Let's grab both of these, drop them in the connect. Now, one of the things we need to do with this connect is untick or check the weld option. You've got 2 points here that are very close together, and this will try and weld them 2 points together if that is ticked. Well, we don't want that. We want them to be round. So that's that. Now from this connect, we can just drag this in the extrude, and that is exactly what we want. Now, we do need to do some changes here. We need to change the points because that is way too many lines there. So let's come over to the screen here and change the number of points, and let's just bring this down. And a number of 3 is going to keep it smooth. It's about as low as we can go, and that's going to keep things smooth forwards. And we've still got this nice smooth edge here. Very good. And then we need to do the same for the outer selection here. Now this one's a little bit different because we've got this smooth edge coming down here. So if we go too low, so let's just come down to say 3 with this one, we're actually losing detail here. We actually come down further. So we could actually get away with, we could probably get away with 2 on there. But then you can see we're losing detail here. So I think number 3, I think 3 is going to be fine. I think that's going to be what we're going to use for everything really. And the same technique now we're going to use for the buttons. So we're actually going to cut the buttons out. So we could just put buttons there, but I want an actual sort of gap behind it so it can catch shadow and look like actual buttons. So I'm just going to call this, I'm going to name this front. I can spell this properly. There we go, front plate. And that's got obviously all our assets in there. So next thing I want to do is go ahead and get these buttons. So let me go ahead and just group this as well. So I'm going to just select it and push Alt G. I'll put it into a null, and I'll just call this multi-cell. So now I can hold Alt and just double click that, and that'll hide that. Hold Alt, double click out CAD file, bring that back. Now we're going to do the same thing with the buttons. So come over to line mode, select the CAD file. There we go. Let's just get our brush size down there. Now, I could go around and select all of these and then do the same with this button and then this button and this one, and then edge to spline as one sort of object. Now, the problem you've got with that is if you do it as one object there and then try and smooth out the points, it's going to mess up the points. And I don't know why that is, but it does. It messes up the points. Let me just give you an example really quick. So if I just come to these back points here, I'm just going to push UL because I know this will allow us to select it. So I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to select these. I'm going to do the same with this. In fact, I'm just going to do these 2. We get the same result if we selected the bottom 2 as well. And if I hide this, come into my right view, and just have a look at these points here. If we change the type, easier again, intermediate points to natural, you can see we've got a bit of an issue here. I don't know what's causing that, and the only way to sort of solve that is to select them individually. So if we just come back, we will deselect this one if we can get in there. So I'm going to hold Control and deselect that. So now we've just got the wrong one ring selected, edge to spline. Let's bring that out. Let's hide that. And now, if we do exactly the same, change the type to Bezier, and natural, we actually have the same problem. Why is that? Let's see what's going on here. So I've actually got a line selected here. That's what's caused that problem. So let's bring this back and back into there, come back into line mode, and there we go. That's the one that we got selected. We don't want that selected. Now if we do the same thing again, bring this out, hide that, zoom into this, change the points real quick, easier, natural. Now we are nice and smooth. Okay, so that's why you have to do it individually. It may, depending on the file you've got, it may, you may be able to select multiple ones and convert them to a spline, and you may get away with it. But for this particular example, that didn't work. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these buttons. I'm going to do the front face here, and I'm just going to go around. I'm going to select them, then I'm going to edge to spline, the one button. I'm going to repeat the process. So I'm going to actually speed this part of the video up while I do this. Okay, there we go. So I've gone ahead and created all them splines there, and I've named them F1, F2, center button, F3, and F4. And the reason for that is that's the name of the buttons, so I know what they are. From this point, what we can go ahead and do is we can hide this. Let's go ahead and optimize these in a sense, and prepare them. So if we just come into point mode here, let's come into, let's select, let's put the center one. In fact, we can do this center one now. That's going to be very simple. Bezier and natural. And now I'll just smooth that out. Fantastic. Don't need to worry about that anymore. And I'm going to do all these in one go. I'm going to have these as cubic and intermediate points as natural again. You can see that's mess things up. Not a problem. Let's go ahead and select all the edge points here that we want to be hard. We want that one to be hard, that one, that one. I'm holding shift while I'm doing this, by the way. Same with this. And if we right click and select hard interpolation, and now we're getting close. So now if we just select these top points and select line up, same with this, line up, same with this, right click, line up, and we're just going to repeat this. Oh, don't want to select that. So we're getting there, we're getting there. It's a bit of a tedious job, but it has to be done. And for the time that you spend doing it, and then you see the end results, it's pretty satisfying. So there we go. Now we can go ahead and chamfer these. So we've still got that selected. Let's go ahead and select these points here. Let's get that brush size bigger. Selecting all the points. There we go. And then right click, chamfer. And is 0.4 going to be too much, do we think? I don't think so. Maybe 0.3 actually. I think 0.3 will work just right for us. There we go. So you can see we're nice and smooth. Yeah. And then from this point, we can bring our main multi-cell back here. You see the buttons will line up there. And we can just literally drag these into our connect. You can see that's sort of bulled that out. Now you see we've caused a bit of a problem here, and that's it's messing up this front part. It's the buttons are actually a little bit further out. You can see there. If I come into the front view, side view, that needs to be straight. So we can easily fix that. If I just drag these back out, let's just hide this so we can see what's going on. If we select these, come to object mode, center their axis, And if we come into coordinates, we can see this is in the plus 1.7 in the X position. If we just reset that to 0, same for this one, and just repeat this for all of them. So it's going to be flat with a plate then. And we can go ahead, we can just make this viewable again, drop this in the connect, and actually we've solved that problem. One of the things we do want to do is again just optimize these points. You see we've got too many polygons here, so let's just go ahead and we can do this. Let's just do the buttons and not the center one. Come over to points here, and I'm going to put these down to 3. So we actually don't lose any quality there whatsoever. And again, I'm going to come to the center one and just do the same for that. Change that to 3. So it's probably still quite high, but I'm only working with this one model, so I don't really need to worry too much about the poly count. And that's my squeaky chair if you didn't hear that. Okay, next thing we're going to do is just bevel these edges. Let's give them a cap. And we want to constrain this. So let's give it a 0.3 radius here. And the constrain option will basically, if we just bring our cell back here, when we don't have constrain on, you can see the fillet here will actually expand, whereas if we constrain it, it will keep its original size, which is exactly what we want. And that is the front plate. So what time are we on? 24 minutes. That's quite a long time. I'm going to quickly go ahead and put these buttons in. So again, this is going to be the same method here. I'm actually going to duplicate these. So I'm going to select them, hold Control, and just drag them out. I'm actually going to duplicate this front plate as well. So I'm going to hold Control, drag that out. And let's see, I actually only don't want the screen there, just want the buttons. So I actually didn't need to duplicate these, so let's get rid of these. I was getting ahead of myself then. So you see this caused some nasty sort of pinching here. That's not cool. So if we just adjust these here, we need to move it back in the X. Doing this the wrong way. There we go. So I think that'll be fine. We need to swap these caps around. Three, and you can see that's it's causing some nastiness there, and that's because we chamfered it at 0.3. So if we go to 0.2, that cleans that right up. So it's less than the original chamfer that we did. The points look good, the buttons look good, and that's how we add the buttons. If we just quickly, let's just name these, and then we'll put a quick texture on them. So we'll just put the buttons texture on there. Lovely. And we'll just put the front cover texture or front plate texture on there. If I do a quick sort of render here, now the texture is nothing special. It's actually very, very basic, but you can see there everything is very clean, very smooth. Although we do seem to be missing a little bit on the top here. We can go ahead and change that. So let's go to the screen and just increase the points up to 5. And I think we may need to do the same thing for the bottom here as well. And this is just me being picky, to be honest. You know, we could probably get away with the bottom. Maybe if we just maybe we just decrease it by 1. There we go. In fact, you know, I'm going to do the screen. I'm going to put the screen to a number of 4 points as well, and that looks nice. Okay, so now we have a good starting point. The screen, what I will do with the screen, let's see, let's get a screen here. We just copy the screen that we originally created, or the screen profile, just drag that out. Actually control and drag that out. We want to make a copy of that. We will center its axis. And we'll bring a cube in. We'll make this a child of the screen. We'll hit this PSR. And that'll reset the cube to the screen's access point. So we just need to reduce all of these down. There we go. So the screen doesn't have to be too accurate. Let's give it a x depth of 1. And we're probably going to want to push this back. Let's go negative x. We don't want to go back too far. And I'm just going to put the screen texture on there. And that is it for the screen. Okay, let's do a quick render here. Let's see. And that is working for me. So that's the first part. That's the front cover there. We can easily add the back cover here. In fact, I'll do that right now. I'm just going to duplicate the front plate here. And I'm just going to delete the screen, the center buttons, all the buttons. We don't need any of that. In fact, I'm even going to take it out of the connect and just put it there. Now we want to change its thickness. If I bring back the original here, we can see what we're doing a bit better. So let's see. We want to go back here. We actually probably want to take this back as well. I want to get rid of the caps. Reduce it down. And that is going to work for us. I'm going to put this lighter blue on there. And I'm also going to put a cap on there as well. 0.3. With a step size of 3. That'll match the front perfect. And there we go. So these are the lines that you can see. That's the original CAD file overlapping. If we get rid of that, you can see everything stays very clean. So there we go. That's the front plate. I think I'm gonna sort of put the video on hold there because it's quite lengthy, and then I'm gonna basically repeat the steps for the back of this controller. Let's just bring this back. We've also got some elements to put in. We've got these sort of little arrows. We'll be using cloners and sort of spline wraps and various different things to be doing that kind of things. You could just use the texture, but I'm not the best in Photoshop, so it's just easier for me to do it within Cinema 4D. So yeah, I think that's a huge improvement. That's the way I do it. I think it looks better. I appreciate your comments. If you know a better way of doing this, please do let me know. And any questions, I'll also reply to in the comments. Yeah, let me know if you guys want part 2 of this, and take it easy.